Hello, and welcome to Wolfcast, episode 16. Yay!
Over it.
Over it.
No.
Today's topic is brought to you by everything they're gonna say, because I don't know shit.
Oh, come on. You gotta know something.
Surely you remember something from high school.
Yeah, it sucked ass.
And so the subject today is going to be history. This will be your history lesson of the week. And we don't know jack shit.
Oh, we know.
It's gonna be like that
Fang.
show. Well, it's gonna be like that show, the Drunk Historians or whatever the fuck it was on the Travel Channel, where they just drink and talk shit about history. Have you never seen that?
No.
It is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
They just get drunk and talk about history.
I mean, I don't have any alcohol over here.
I don't either.
You have yours.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
The history is a touchy thing. It always repeats itself. That is inevitable. There is dog hair on my cup.
We happen to have a dog.
But history repeats itself. Yep. History repeats itself. It always will. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, theoretically, there's something you can do about it.
Excuse me? There it is. It was taking its sweet time.
But, yeah. You can learn from history and try not to make the same mistakes, but eventually history will repeat itself.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you see it almost every fucking day that it's repeating itself.
It's one of them things. Like, people are talking about what's going on in the world right now, how they're talking about mandating the vaccines and shit, and they're acting like it's a new thing. I'm like, when I was in high school, people were getting removed from the high school because they didn't have their polio vaccination. They didn't have their tetanus vaccination. They didn't have these things, so they were removed from the school. This isn't the first time this happened. And even years ago with the Black Death and polio and all that shit, the same shit happened. History repeats itself. Almost to the letter. The only thing that changes is the people's names.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it's sad, but there's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah, it's just... It's a sad part about it is that, and you think after the centuries that we have made these mistakes and, have seen that certain things don't work or never are going to work, and yet we still keep it's definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Humans are stubborn.
Yeah,
so we get an idea.
Republicans, excuse me.
Not just that.
I know.
I'm not going to get political with that.
Yeah.
But...
I'm just saying.
No, it's just one of the things. The human race is stubborn. We get an idea in our head and we want it to work. To the point where historically we have sacrificed millions of lives to make it work.
Goodness.
Excuse me. And, for the longest time, we thought mercury was a good idea. A lot of doctors throughout history used mercury to cure illnesses, quote unquote, because you can't be sick if you're dead.
Or the expression "mad as a hatter."
Yep.
The reason why the expression's "mad as a hatter" is because hatters used to use mercury when they made their hats,
and it literally made them insane.
And it literally made them go insane. So, that's it's.
Why is the raven like a writing desk?
Why?
I haven't the slightest idea. That's an actual riddle. And the way you get somebody is you go, why is a raven like a writing desk? And they sit there and they think about it, and they think about it, and they think about it. And they give you answers, and you're like, nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope, nope. And you just keep doing this. And then they go, fine, why is a raven like a writing desk? And you go, I haven't the slightest idea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So on the subject of history, here's a fun one. America has not known a day without or a year without war since its founding.
Yeah.
America has pretty much always been at war since its founding as America.
Seems about legit.
I think there might have been like 1 year of peace.
Maybe. Quite
Maybe.
possibly.
I don't know.
Regularly the Irish, what was it, the 11-year war? It's like, but you guys lost the 11-year war. Yeah, but it was a hell of a war.
The Ostrich War in Australia. Do you know? Have you heard about that?
Excuse the fuck out of me?
Uh-huh.
An Ostrich war?
Uh-huh.
Please do enlighten me.
So there were a lot of ostriches and emus and shit. I think it might have been emu. It was one of the big fucking flightless birds. And they were abundant in Australia. Nuisantly abundant. To the point where people were killing them. I don't know the exact details on it. Oh, it was they were emus because it was called the Great Emu War. But it got military grade attention. And technically the Australians lost. There were no humans on the enemy side. At all. It was all giant flightless birds.
Boys.
And the entire Australian army was involved in it. And they lost.
Quite comical, actually.
It's hilarious. I need to find the exact details on it because it's just a great. If you have time and you want a good laugh, look up the Great Emu War in Australia, and it's interesting.
It's interesting.
I feel like an idiot. I don't know. I couldn't. I really don't. I don't know anything about wars or anything. Like
You
I
want-
know like certain things that's like certain wars that's happened, but like I don't remember any details about anything. Like you could name a war and I'd be like, I don't know what year that was.
You can. I guarantee you could give me a detail right now.
Yeah, not all history is war
Yeah.
related.
Here's the thing: World War II. Who was the bad guy?
Oh no.
Really?
I'm
Like,
being
no
dead
troll.
honest. I'm being completely 100% honest. I don't know anything
He
about
had a
any
fan.
of them.
He had a fantastic mustache.
Edgar Allan Poe.
No.
You're centuries. You gotta be trolling, dude.
He's the whole reason
Me?
as to why that mustache style was like frowned upon.
Yeah. Poor Charlie Chaplin.
You really don't know
Hitler, motherfucker.
Adolf Hitler?
Adolf Dribbler.
It's not ringing a bell.
Yeah.
Alpha.
No, I see when you said it like that, like I'm sure you know. It popped in my head, but if I was to like dead ass, if I was sitting there, not saying like I was in like class and like we just learned about it this past week, but like if like for some weird fucking reason I had to take a quiz and they were like, why was da 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 da, or who was the reason for World War II, I would literally be like, I don't fucking know.
And that's a thing. That's I think that's a questionnaire thing because I'm sure you guys have experience with like Jeopardy. A question will come on and you'll sit there and you know it. It is right fucking there. You know the answer, but you can't answer it.
Mm.
It's like that answer doesn't want to come forward. I sat there. They showed a Rembrandt painting, and I only knew the Rembrandt painting because I read the book, "What Makes a Rembrandt a Rembrandt," and it was the same painting for the cover of that book. And I sat there like slapping my knee, trying to figure it out, and then I finally got out Rembrandt. And it's just annoying how questionnaires work. So I think it's just a reaction to when you get asked a question, even if you know the answer, almost like a fear you're gonna get it wrong.
See, in high school, I was mediocre at like science and chemistry, really, really good in English and history, and then sucked at math. Now, the only things I'm good at is math and English.
I'm still a wealth of useless knowledge regarding history and mythology.
Mm-hmm. Like I love.
Yeah,
I,
if
I
if
failed
you
those
ask me
classes, by the
anything,
way.
if you ask me anything about like music or television or gaming or whatever, I'm street smart. I'm not book smart, I guess.
Right. Here's something for you since you like music. I don't know if you'd like power metal too much, But a band I listen to, Sabaton.
We still on Sabaton.
Sabaton is fantastic. You shut your whore mouth.
What the fuck?
But it's called
Something.
Sabaton, Saboten or On. I can't remember.
I think it's probably Owen for
Probably.
Baton.
They're Swedish.
Swedish? Ah,
Swedish.
yeah. Ulla, Inga, Tyler, Hanna, Charles. What's your first name? That
It
was
was
my
my
first
first
name. Do you want to hear my last name? I'm afraid we don't have the time.
We'll just call you Ula.
Ulla.
But
Ulla
no.
will come and
God damn it.
Sorry.
A low price of $50 a night. You can stay with these folks.
$50 a night. Hell yeah. I'll take a free $50. We got a couch.
Unfortunately, it's at a pull-out couch, so.
Anyway. No, but
Insert Bo Burnham and pull out couch joke.
yeah.
Yes.
I got my girlfriend pregnant on my sterile uncle's pull-out couch. Anyway, no, but Sabaton makes music. All of their music is based around historical wars. They just released one on a very interesting thing that happened in World War One. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, World War One, because it happened in like 1914, 1915. But it was the Christmas truce. And for those who don't know, it's kind of sad when you really think about it. You have the Allies on one side, the French. Russia. Yeah, Russia was on the Allies side at that point. I think, maybe. It was basically the French, and then you had the Germans on the other side, and it was Christmas Eve. It was either Christmas Eve night into Christmas Day, or it was just flat Christmas Day.
No, I think it was Christmas Eve into Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's probably about right. But there's tons of different stories you can find, tons of different reads about how it started. Some say that like the French were in their
French.
trench, and they heard Germans singing what is it? Ukton Nacht or something like that, which it's just Silent Night. They were singing Silent Night in German, and then the French joined in singing another song, another Christmas song, and one of the French guys got up out of the trench, hands in the air, and surrender, or basically saying, "I'm not a harm." And the Germans saw him and were calling up, and they had him. Like, he was dead to rights. They were lined up ready to shoot on this man. And one of the commanders yelled for a ceasefire, and he went out there and met with the Frenchmen. They shook hands, and then everybody else came up out of their trenches, and they sang songs together. They traded goods. They joked. They laughed. There are records of these two enemy sides of a war playing a game of soccer in the middle of the war. And it was just, they were making friends. And then, as they were doing that, you would hear gunfire and artillery in the distance, and that was their signal to get back to it. And it's really sad to think about. These men just made friends on opposite sides, and now they have to kill each other.
It's real heavy, man.
It's a beautiful time in history to show that they're just human in the end. They're not just some military beings following orders. They literally, for 24 hours, said, "Fuck the military, it's Christmas." And went out there and celebrated Christmas. And then 24 hours after that, they had to shoot at each other again.
Be fucked.
Mhm.
There's a memorial you can see. I don't know where it is exactly. It's a cross that I think was erected the day of the Christmas truce. They put it out in the middle of the field. It's now surrounded by concrete and flowers. It's a memorial. It says Christmas truce 1914, and then towards the base of it, it says "Lest we forget." And it's a beautiful time in history of war, but it's also incredibly fucked. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go out there and make friends with the enemy and then turn around and have to shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, "Court-martial me. Bob over there is giving it his all. I can't kill him.
Can't kill him. He's got a family.
He showed me pictures of his wife and kid. Come on. Not a monster. Fuck you." Shoot me in the head. I don't want to go out there.
Well, now comes the fun time of any of our fun stuff that we do.
Oh yeah, the script reading.
Well, not the script reading.
That is a script.
It's not a script. It's information. You jerk.
Script.
So, time to learn. So, what is history's best definition?
Fucked.
It is events of the past,
Ass fucked.
right? Events of the past, and especially those relating to a particular place or subject, to European history or even American history. Or it's a branch of knowledge that records and explains past events, a written report of past events, or an established record of past events.
You said past events a lot there.
I know. Well,
I was
it's-
thinking
it's
the same
past.
fucking thing.
It's the definition.
I swear to God, though, in every single history class from K to 12th grade,
You had history
walked
class in
in.
kindergarten?
well, you know what I mean. Okay, so middle school to high school.
There we go.
You would walk in, and somewhere there would be a sign that says "History repeats itself," and you're like,
That's kind of scary.
"Thanks."
That's a lot to put on 13-year-old me.
Said.
You know, if
I
history
fucked up
repeats
last
it,
week, I'm gonna fuck up again next week.
history repeats itself. What was a great time? Let's bring back the 70s, where drugs are okay and everybody's horny.
You're not wrong, and that's the sad part.
I know, I'm not wrong.
One of those is true all the time, anyways.
Mm.
Yeah, drugs are okay.
No, that's not yet. Sure.
Well, I mean, pot's okay.
Well, no, that's the funny thing. I think it's in Colorado or something. They passed a law making cocaine legal.
Jesus.
Yeah, you think
What
so?
fuck?
When you think about that, it's kind of fucked. Cocaine legal? What? They have
Oh
had,
yeah, I think they
they
did
have
it.
had less overdoses, less arrests, less illegal activity. People aren't stealing shit.
Well, yeah, because I think they also made it to where they have places they can actually go and do it under
Mhm.
supervised situations where they're not going to OD, and if they do, there's someone there that can
Yeah,
help them.
it's fantastic because they took this really fucked up drug. I'm drilling on myself. They took this really fucked up drug that people think bad things about.
kid.
Fuck you. But they took this really fucked up drug that people are, skeptical about, and they made it legal. The crime rate is down. Arrests are down, obviously, because the drug isn't illegal anymore. Overdoses are down. Like, the result of making this highly illicit drug legal were fantastic.
Or it's like how the theory, a really big conspiracy theory, is that the American government introduced, what was it? Not heroin, but
Acid?
crack
Crack.
to the African American community back in the day to kind of keep them in check.
To keep them down. and all
Yeah,
that
like they
shit.
introduced them to make them addicts and
They didn't introduce shit. What they did is they went, hey guys, you know how Jimmy gets whenever he snorts this stuff? Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if we gave it to the minorities? That's probably what happened.
I
And then when
You
it
remember
happened,
the fucking videos that you would watch in like school about that shit?
oh yeah,
or it's like, I mean, if you really want to, and this is really bad, but if you want a really good movie to watch that's not
History X.
historically, yeah, not historically accurate, but really shows the cruelty of racism, is American History X.
American History X is actually historically accurate.
Is it?
The shit that happened in that movie is the shit we have on record of happening back in that time.
Shit.
It's just depicted in a movie. It is a fantastic movie about depicting racism and how cruel it is.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen American History X, bite the curb and watch it.
Right? The curb.
There's a
Wow.
scene. There's a scene in the movie where these
That's,
two.
yeah. Let them watch it.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, back to the
I-
nerdy part
I
of the
know fucking
podcast.
curb.
So I didn't know this, and I found this out when I was doing some research, but there's actually 11 types of history. And our roommate brought up a really good point to it, is that, in some places these don't count because there's either no record of it, or they're just such a third world country that there's
Not
no record of
necessarily
it.
third world, because there are some histories that aren't bothered looking at by America or Europe or these higher
True.
up countries, because they do not apply, or we feel like they do not apply.
True. But you've got your political history, which is the history of political systems.
American history.
Your social history, the history of people and societies.
Socialist history.
Your economic history, the history of the economies and economic processes.
Nerd.
Diplomatic history, which is the history of international relations. Your art history, my favorite. The history of various forms of art. Food history. Mm-hmm.
That would be one that America actually doesn't care about, regardless of us being the most obese nation.
No. Our food history is really out there. It really
Bring
is.
me a food history book
I will
that
look one up
isn't
for
a
you.
culinary school book.
But where do you think your food history comes from? Is your culinary? Culinary is food, dear.
I'm aware.
But the history of food cuisines, history of science and medicine, the history of medical science, cultural history, the history of world cultures.
And irrelevant history is coming up.
Shut up, you ass. There's women's history, the history of feminism, intellectual history, the evolution of ideas and famous thinkers, environmental history, the history of our natural environment and its diverse components.
So here's why I'd say a lot of those histories don't exist in America. So you had the intellectual history.
Mm-hmm.
That is summed up as history in America. It is just history. There's no intellectual about it. It's like you look at Edison.
Mm-hmm.
He's just history. He's not intellectual history. He's just a guy who stole the light bulb idea.
Yeah.
Which you're not taught that in school. At least you weren't when I was in school. You were taught Edison made the light bulb when he stole the idea from fucking Nikola Tesla.
And what's funny is, like, the experiment they show where the elephant gets electrocuted, they pass it off saying that was Tesla's electricity that did that, when it actually was Edison's that did it.
There are a lot of famous people out there who honestly don't deserve as much fame as they got. And they
Zuckerberg.
just ripped off MySpace.
Well, no, he stole the idea from Harvard kids.
Yeah. But you had like Christopher Columbus. He wasn't the first motherfucker to discover America.
No, he wasn't. It was the Vikings, wasn't it?
Yeah, Vikings would have been the first outsiders to discover America. There were people living on America before the Vikings.
Yeah, Indians.
But
They got the
Vikings would
shit
have
deal
been
out of
the
it.
first outsiders to discover America, specifically Leif Erikson, which is why we have Leif Erikson Day. Hing-a-ding-a-durg.
Fired.
That's a SpongeBob
Hello,
joke.
Grandmaster. Welcome to the live episode of the podcast.
Hello, welcome.
Get out while you can.
Run.
Run.
Yeah. But we're taught that Christopher Columbus was a hero who discovered America. No, he was a loser on his last chance with the fucking British
No,
Empire.
it's Spanish.
Spanish Empire, sorry. Typically in history, British is the
It really
heroes. Yeah, heroes is like glared by the Brit.
Hey, shut up. It's my family history.
You stole our potatoes.
Well, then you had chicken and fish and sheep. If you would have stopped fucking all the sheep, you would have had food.
First off,
Excuse me?
the Irish weren't sheep fuckers. They weren't. We just wore them as a winter coat.
Sure. You wore their inside as a winter coat.
Wait. Oh, no. That was another war that happened. The fucking Great Potato Famine. It wasn't a famine. The British just stole everything.
Steal everything.
You fucking invaded the continent and took all the potatoes
Like you could have had some.
and taxed the fuck out of them.
Wars coming 2022.
Or it's like how the British stole the Scots Rock and caused a big old war that way too.
There was actually a war that had no deaths, and it's still technically going on. And you'll never guess who it's between. I actually don't remember who exactly it's between. I know one of them is Canada.
Ooh, Canada.
One of them is
So-
Canada, and then I want to say the other one is Greenland.
So you know how like the Rolling 20s
The Roaring
in the
20s.
90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, Roaring. Yeah, my bad. I've heard a lot of talk about like we're essentially in the Roaring 20s again.
I
You believe
wish.
that?
Actually, no, I don't, because
Prohibition.
prohibition would be a thing, and I don't feel like making my own alcohol out of bread.
Actually, you
Do
can
you-
make my favorite is honey mead.
Really?
Out of
You
honey.
like mead?
I love mead.
Huh.
It's delicious. I've made my own.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I went all Valley Girl. Yeah.
No, that's that fucking crazy kid. He gets hit in the head with the basketball.
Yeah.
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 Thank you, Vaughn.
Now, if
We
we're
miss
going
you.
back into the Roaring 20s, let's do it the right way. No political power in the United States, really.
Yeah, okay.
And let's bring back the alcoholism. I guess women's rights can stay.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, the women's movement has been, amazing
Oh,
to
yeah, it's
come
been
from
fantastic.
where we have been, where women had no rights to vote, had no voice. We just, made food, bared children. That was it. Just the
Do
do what I say.
Do what I say.
But we've gone to the point where it's, hey, we have a voice. We are a
And
person.
funny
no matter.
enough, on that same subject, divorce is a relatively recent thing in terms of years and development.
Well, that and it's gone down.
Well, so yes, divorce rates have gone down, but when they looked at divorce and made it to where the women can actually divorce the men, because before it'd be like the woman would file for divorce.
The voice.
The woman would file for divorce, and they'd go to court about it, just like they do now.
Mm-hmm.
But way back in the day, the men would go, "I don't want this divorce," and the court would be like, "Overruled. Go."
Well, that and is also very Catholic.
Oh,
Christian.
marry
And-
once, never
Yeah.
do anything again. Her to her to her.
There is no divorce. You marry for life.
Same old fucking the Old Testament rule of what was it? If a man commits adultery against his wife, the wife is to be taken out into the stone courtyard and stoned.
No. The man can cheat. The man can go and have sex with whoever he wants.
The woman is.
But if the woman cheats, she gets stoned.
That's what I just said.
No, you said it backwards.
Did I say it backwards?
Yeah.
Oh, then I'm sorry for saying it backwards. Yeah, I was like, yeah, the man cheated on his wife, but the woman gets stoned because she wasn't good enough. Is how the Old Testament saw it,
Or yeah, just
which is kind of fucked.
I don't know. I just feel like women got shit on and they deserved like fucking way better. Yes, the men went out and fucking worked, but these women fucking cooked, clean. I mean, even talking about today, like you have the typical cook, clean. They fucking carry a baby inside for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't fucking imagine doing that. I mean, I guess technically I carried a bunch of weight around for a long time, but no, I couldn't fucking imagine.
A lot of that also comes from you have people, and you unfortunately still have people to this day who think like this. They read the Constitution, and in the Constitution it says all men are created equal. Or not the Constitution, but the other important document. What is it?
you
Declaration of
mean,
Independence.
yeah.
All men are created equal. All men are created equal. And people look at that and go, well, women aren't men.
No, there's men in our name because we're the whoa man.
Because people don't realize that when you say the word men, all men are created equal, that is referring to human.
Yeah, human, not It's
Which-
about all peoples.
I guess I get the confusion because the English language is fun.
Yeah, that beats up other languages, and then
It robs them for their consonants and vowels. But then you get to the point where it's like you had the early slave trade, and it's like all men are created equal. Well, these people aren't people.
there are two people.
Why? Because we took them from another continent that we knew nothing about previously. Oh, okay, their skin color is different. Ah, yes, because they're different from us. They're not people.
I mean, well, if you look about it, they treated the Irish and the Italians the same way.
Oh, yeah, but so the Irish and the Italians were treated as slaves to hierarchy. The hierarchy of, say, Britain, Russia, and all these other high up places that had the rich would have Irish and Italian slaves.
Well, because they saw them just as worthless as
Yes,
time,
same with
the
British and the
African-Americans.
Australians. The Australians were just slaves, essentially. So they were good for. They were lower beings.
Hmm. It's like, and by no means am I degrading
Oh no,
the
but
African
that's how
American,
they saw people
but
in
yeah,
history.
that's how they saw it. Is that Italians
That being
and
said,
Irish were just as you know
I almost would say, I would almost would argue the slavery and mistreatment of African Americans in history was worse than what happened to the Irish and the Italians.
yeah
Again, because the Irish and the Italians were slaves to hierarchy, whereas African Americans were slaves to regular fucking people
yeah
who just happened to own a farm. I would much rather be a doorman for a king than out in the fields working.
yeah, but at that point in history, it's like they weren't given
That
that
was normal.
choice. It's horrible that any culture or nation can see or even deem one race as less than what they are.
And actually, I would hate to say it, back on the subject of history repeating itself, the way we are going, at least in America, we're heading right back to that.
Yeah, it's like we shouldn't have to have Black Lives Matter. It shouldn't be the fact that
Not to say that movement's worthless.
no,
Keep
no,
going. We'll keep going through with it. Fight the good fucking
yeah,
fight. But we shouldn't
but we
have to
shouldn't
have it
have
in
to
the
do
first
that. We
place.
still shouldn't have to go back and be like, Black people have rights, they matter. Well, no fucking duh. Like, they are a human being. They have the same rights that everyone is entitled to. Underneath skin color, we all bleed the same damn color, which is red. I
If I
don't care
slit
if
your
you're
throat, you're just as red as the other guy.
right. I don't care if you're black, white, green, yellow, whatever, what have
I've
you.
had a guy come up to me like, "You're treating me different because I'm a different color," and I was like, "No, I'm treating you different because I don't know you.
Yeah.
Once I've determined whether you're an asshole or not, we'll go from there."
Right. Like, I don't care. Like, I know when I was younger, I was racist towards Mexicans. I had my own reason for it.
Okay.
That I had my reasons, and as I got older, I realized that my racism was stupid because I was basing the action of one person on an entire race.
Unfortunately, there are people in the world right now that don't grow out of that.
Yeah, and I learned my mistake, and I'm like, you know what? It's irresponsible and stupid and childish of me to base one person's actions on an entire race.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my really good friends is Puerto Rican, and I love her. She's fiery, sassy, and I love her to death. So I learned through my own ignorance that it was stupid.
Doesn't define
Yeah.
a race.
One person doesn't define a race. You can have one person that's a complete asshole that you just don't like them, but don't hate the entire race because of that one person.
You were saying, Alpha?
I was just gonna kind of like, you know, continue on that. I was gonna say that like, um, some of like some black and Mexicans that I've met have been like more supportive than some, you know, other people that I've met. Like I've made music with African American people or black people, and like one of the biggest compliments I got from that was, "Damn, you can really spit for a white guy." And I don't know if that's supposed to be racist. I don't think he meant it like that, but like it
Well, I
made
mean,
me feel
spitters are
good
quitters,
inside.
but
Shut the fuck up.
No, it's
I'm
one
kidding,
thing.
I love you.
So let's get off the subject of racism. We'll save that for
Well,
another talk.
and I was gonna say also that like I've learned a lot. Like I've learned to speak almost, I wouldn't say fluent Spanish, but damn near pretty much fluent Spanish.
Rosie's a
Um,
hero.
well,
was she the one that was like the?
Yes.
I love her.
well, no, I learned more sign language from her. So I took 2 years of sign language or 2 years of Spanish. Didn't learn damn near jack diddly squat, but like your typical things. Go and work with a few Mexicans that I work with, even some to this day, and I've learned damn near how to speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Rosie, who you were talking about, I took 1 year of sign language, learned a lot, but she has taught me so much. So I can almost speak the three different languages. So for you to look at somebody, just to finish this up real quick, just to look at somebody and be like, I don't want to talk to them because they're not the same color, or this is what I've heard, da 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 da. You can learn a lot,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's from their culture or just them as a human being and what they've been through.
Mm-hmm.
So Don't judge a book by its cover. But anyways, back to history.
So here's something history-wise, and it honestly scares me. It crosses my mind at work because, I'm working, shit runs across my head. We are slowly turning back to the Crusades. The Crusades, the Inquisition. We're slowly turning back into that, and it's scary. I'm sorry, I don't give a rat's ass about your religion. I don't care what your religion is. This goes to whoever's listening to this. I don't care. I won't judge you based off of your religion. Unless you start fucking yelling it at me, and then I'm going to judge you off your religion.
Mm-hmm.
But America is not a Christian nation. Never was, and as long as people like me exist, never will be. We weren't originally one nation under God. That was added in like 20 years later.
Yeah, it was added in the 50s because that's when the American nation itself deemed itself a Christian nation. But the actual pledge of allegiance never said under God.
No, it said, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mm-hmm. Under God wasn't added to until the 50s. If you believe this side of history, which is also false, I will just point that out. Even if you follow this falsified history of the Pilgrims escaping England seeking religious freedom and settling in America to create a nation where all religion is created equal, it's still not a Christian fucking nation.
Mm-mm.
And the reason why I say that's false is because the Pilgrims were actually exiles and enemies of the crown to England. They had to leave. They were forced to leave.
Yeah, because it was, I think one of the kings at the time, they just didn't want to be behind. I think it was one of the...
They went against him. They revolted.
Oh,
they tried to kill him.
I can't remember if it was King Charles?
I almost want to say it was Louis.
No, it wasn't King Louis.
But America is the only place that is taught that Pilgrims were repressed. The Pilgrims were a repressed people. America is the only nation that's taught in. Everywhere else looks at us like we're fucking crazy.
I mean, we kind of fucking are.
Oh, yeah, we're fucking insane. That's why nobody really fucks with us. We have not been invaded in hundreds of years.
King Charles the First.
It was Charles?
King Charles the First.
He was a fuck anyway.
Either Charles or James. It's usually Charles or James that is the king. Then you have Henry.
Henry.
King Henry VIII!
Charles and Henry, I'll always look at those names and go, well, that was a rough time, wasn't it?
Well, see, and what's funny is talking about the kings, like with King Louis and Antoinette and all that. Like
Lady Antoinette.
I got used as a reference for her.
Really?
So in elementary school in 6th grade, I had a teacher. We were talking about the French Revolution and all that jazz.
Vive la Resistance!
Right. And there was a portion where, because at that time I had really long hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of Antoinette's really long hair, like they tried to chop through her head the first time.
And
apparently the guillotine didn't go through. Mm-hmm. So they had to move her hair out of the way and chop her head off again. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like, why did I have to get used for it? Why?
I also loved cake.
Yeah. But what's funny is that got miscued, though. Like, she didn't say let them eat cake. Like, that's the biggest miscued thing in history, though.
It's because of mishearing and political bullshit that they need an excuse to behead the rich.
Right. I mean, granted, France was starving, but...
Yeah, France was fucked. They were royally fucked in that time period.
Yeah, they were.
Then you have... Let's go into a little bit different subject here of history repeating itself. You have... It was December... Oh, I want to say December 17th, 1917. I only know this because of a song. It's a song by the Longest Johns. They're a folk band.
I love the Longest Johns.
They're fantastic. And it literally starts out, he goes, let me sing you a song, boys of fire and flame. That's how it starts out, because it talks about the French, what is it? The French ammo ship, the Mont Blanc was her name.
Mm.
It was an ammo ship. They were going to war. They were trying to get to Germany. And they made it to Nova Scotia in Canada. When they were in that port, a Norwegian ship, the Imos, or the Emos, I don't know how you would pronounce that ship's name, but it turned towards that ship and it couldn't stop itself. And it struck the side of the Mont Blanc. When it did, now the Mont Blanc was filled absolutely filled with combustible chemicals, grade A TNT, all sorts of big bada boom.
Big bad.
They were off the shore of Halifax in Nova Scotia. And by off the shore, I mean maybe 2 football fields, maybe 3. They weren't that far offshore. So Imos struck the Mont Blanc, and the damage itself to the Mont Blanc wasn't that big of a deal. However, the collision caused a bunch of chemicals to spill over, and a fire happened. The fire consumed the ship. Everybody left the ship. All of the sailors survived. And they ran through, and the song states, what is it? The crew ran through town, save your souls as they ran through the town, but their words sounded nothing but strange foreign sounds because the townsfolk didn't know any French. So they're all leaving, and suddenly the Mont Blanc exploded. And before the creation of the nuke, it was the single biggest explosion on record. The entire city was gone. No, Halifax was just nothing but rubble and death. 2,000 people, over 2,000 people died. 9,000 more were injured, and there wasn't a building standing. And that happened in World War One.
I will say, out of the wars, like my dad growing up, I got my love of cars from my dad because I love cars, and I also got my love of planes from my dad. So
trains and automobiles.
Oh yeah, which he's done all 3. He's got his trains right now, but I love the old warbirds like the B-25, the B-17. Those are my absolute favorite planes.
On that
like,
note, before I forget, we had an interesting moment at work the other day.
Yeah?
It started when I was on lunch. I was coming back from McDonald's. There was a motherfucking AC-130 flying over the fucking building. And I mean low flying. He was circling.
Well, I mean, the Atterbury's. Right?
Atterbury's down the road, but they were doing parachute runs.
Paratroopers.
Yeah, to the south of us. And it was just really wild to see this very massive warship of a plane flying overhead. And then all that could pop through my head was Call of Duty. All I heard was, enemy AC-130 above. And I was like, oh god.
You're like, I'm done?
I'm about to get fucking nuked. They're going to load the 105 millimeter and blow this building to fucking pieces.
Right. And then back with our history.
That's historical.
You had your, after your 11 types of history, you have more of a focal pointed version of history where you have your... Huh? What? Oh. Sorry, my headset makes it hard to hear. You have your ancient history, your medieval history, your modern history, and then again, you still have your art history. With your ancient history, it's accepted to be in around 3000 BCE, which is before the Common Era. With the apparition of early writing systems in the Mesopotamia, it extends up to the 6th century, when the Western Roman Empire collapsed following a succession of invasions and the death of the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. Your medieval history, whereas ancient history stopped at 500 CE, which is the Common Era.
That's another thing. BC does not mean before Christ.
Yeah, it's before the Common Era. And AD, as we were talking with your mom, wasn't after death, but it was like...
after and then a really long D word.
No. It's
isn't it?
No, hang on. I can type today. Anno Domini, which means the year of our Lord. So it's not after death; it's Anno Domini.
A lot of people thought for the longest time BC was before Christ, and AD was after the death of Christ.
Yeah,
it's not.
No. Your medieval history. It starts around, let's see, ancient history stops at 500 CE. Modern history only starts around 1500, depending on the geographical region you're studying.
Or For a second, I thought that said John Cena.
For those 10 centuries
Hell.
of history is what historians refer to as the Middle Ages or medieval times.
The Bronze Age.
For Scandinavia, including current Denmark, Finland, and Norway, the medieval times is often assimilated to the age of the Vikings,
Yeah.
beginning in 793 with the first ever recorded Viking invasion in England.
To anybody who's listening, skull.
And then you have your modern history, where we really took off. You have the invention of the printing press by
Changed the world.
Gutenberg in 1439. The Americas are discovered. Globalization of the
Yeah.
world and acceleration of the exchange of ideas, goods, money through Europe, Middle East, and Asia.
Oh, yeah. Like,
You have just the American Revolution, the French Revolution, colonization of Australia.
and if you want to learn about all that shit, we're not going to read it off here. Go to history class.
Yeah. Or just look online for your history classes. And then your last one is the art history, which is it's one of the subcategories of history in the history of art, but its main focus of historians has mostly been the study of and analyzing historical, religious, and social and political events through different periods through art.
Yeah.
So,
Which a lot of times art can be the best form of history.
oh my God, like Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Oh my God, yes.
Van Gogh.
Oh, Van Gogh. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
The fucking Italians. He was Italian, wasn't he, or was he French?
Van Gogh. I think he was French.
Sure. He lost an ear. Lend me your ear. Anyway, make like Van Gogh and lend me your ear.
I can't tell. He was Dutch.
He was Dutch.
He was Dutch.
With a name like Van Gogh, a very Italian / French.
German.
German. Oh yeah, German, I guess.
Because your Vons and your Vans are very German-esque.
I said Deutschland, and I thought about the producers.
You would.
I know. What else through history do we have? Let's see.
I mean, how far and earlier are you wanting to go? Because if we're
There's
going to
a
go...
Fuckload of history. What time are we at right
We're
now?
only at 45.
47.
47. But I mean, for me, like, I loved history in school. Like, I loved learning history.
I didn't care too much for history in school. A lot of it was like, I was a teenager. It was like, why do I care about what a bunch of old people who are now dead did?
Yeah.
Looking at it now, yes, history is important. We don't want to make the same mistakes. However, those mistakes are out of our control. It's just one of them things. But a lot of the history that I have learned have been through songs and video games. Or the channel, I don't know the name of the channel, but they do
Epic rap battles of history.
No, it's oversimplified. Oversimplified can teach you history in like 2 minutes. They're not actually 2-minute long videos. They're about 30-minute long videos, but they'll teach you everything you need to fucking know. Bye, phone.
Another good one to watch, believe it or not, is the Adam Ruins Everything.
Adam Ruins Everything is fantastic for teaching you what is wrong with certain historical facts.
Mm-hmm.
For example, people are like, oh, the founding fathers intended this. The founding fathers intended that.
I got hit.
If we followed that shit to the letter as the founding fathers intended, none of us in this call and probably none of the people listening to this would be allowed to vote, own a house, own a car, or own half the shit we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally, the founding fathers intended for only basically the rich to be able to do these things. If you owned a house and owned a significant plot of land, that determined how much your vote was worth. I'm sitting here talking with my hands like people can see me.
Or like you're in VR.
Or like I'm in VR, yeah. But it's like... Or what's the fucking meme? Defending my house as the founding fathers intended. I load my musket as 4 ruffians break into my house, blow a hole through the first one. The second one throws up, so I pull out my flintlock pistol, miss him entirely because it's smooth bore barrel, and hit the neighbor's dog. I have to resort to using the cannon mounted at the top of the stairs loaded with grape shot. Blast the second and third guy away, and then charge the fourth guy with my bayonet. Like... It's incredibly nuts how much, especially in America, we cling to the past,
Oh yeah.
but we cling to the wrong parts of the past.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons as to why history does repeat itself is because we, you
Yes.
know,
A lot of people's excuses right now, especially mainly in America, because I'm going to be talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all that shit. We look at the Constitution and go, that's it. That's all I need. Nothing wrong with this document right here. Times change. Technologies change. People change.
people. Why? What?
All throughout history, things will change. You can either accept the change and move with it, or deny change and get lost to history. History will remember you as the people who failed. To not move forward is the greatest failure anybody can make in history. Progress is what we need. And I feel like I'm making a fucking PSA.
It kind of just sounded like you were making a final statement.
It did. I was in court and making a fucking...
No, I
Your
meant
Honor.
like you were like wrapping up the podcast as in like
Oh,
a
maybe.
final statement is what it kind of sounded like, in all honesty.
Oh, look, I'm intoxicated. Morty.
But I mean, like history also like I feel like can also linger out to like sports
Oh, yeah.
and even video games and everything that people today love.
Oh yeah, with sports history, like the helmet wasn't invented until like 20s or 30s.
That's another thing. You might find this interesting, Alpha, because you played football in high school. How long did you play?
3 years.
3 years? Your position?
Missionary.
No, what did you
Nah,
play?
I played linebacker, defensive line, and offensive.
So, what if I told you way back in the day, football, there was no tackling?
What they do, just fucking two-hand touch.
Essentially. It'd be two-hand touch or basically a game of keep away. People would try to steal the ball from you.
That
wasn't-
seems like rugby.
It was.
I played
Football-
rugby actually.
Football was essentially rugby back in the day. And then it got even more like rugby because they were like, well, this isn't working. Let's tackle each other. So they added tackling while people were getting hurt because there was no protection.
Shin guards, that was it.
Yeah, you had basically shin guards.
Shin guards and cleats, that's all you're allowed in rugby.
You didn't even have cleats back in the day, though. Even
No,
in
they
the
made-
history of rugby, you didn't have cleats.
No, they make cleats for rugby.
No.
It's the only uniform. It's the only.
No, they do now.
Oh.
Back in the day, back when rugby was first starting out, they didn't. Cleats weren't thought about until people were like, "Hey, we need more grip on the shoe on the ground." But no, back in football, you got padding later on, and it was very thin padding.
You don't get padding at all in rugby. Like so you.
I'm
literally-
talking about football. Pay attention.
Oh, sorry.
You've missed 2 points of when I switched
I'm
topics.
sorry.
In the history of football.
Football
Okay.
with the round black and white soccer ball, right?
Wrong football.
Specify American football.
Yeah, American football. Sorry. You eventually got to the point where they were adding tackling while people were getting hurt. So they added in padding. And this padding was basically nothing. You might as well put a fucking pillow, like one of them cheap $5 pillows, as a chest piece, and there's your padding. And then people were like, well, they're suffering from head injuries. We can't have that. So you had the helmet, but the original helmet,
It's like a little leather cap.
it was a little piece of leather you put over your head and it strapped around your chin.
But
There's
what's-
your helmet.
And
And
what's
rugby
funny,
has
in the
that
years
now,
of,
too.
of football, it took them damn near 20 years to we should probably have helmets.
Yeah. So a lot of people are getting upset that, football players are suffering from concussions and brain aneurysms and all this other shit. And they're like, and people are arguing like, you can't take away tackling, that'll kill the sport. It's like, no, it'll just turn the sport back into what it was originally. That's it. You'll go back to how it was. So
You
yeah,
have
if
many
you didn't
refinements.
know that history of football, originally there was no tackling.
Yeah.
I learned that from Adam Ruins Everything. Just like Gatorade is bad for you. Don't listen.
H2O.
Yeah, all in all, if you're dehydrated, drink water. Don't drink an energy drink. That should be a given. Don't drink Gatorade. Don't drink Powerade. Water.
Gatorade's great though when you're sick though.
Water. Flush your body with water.
It gets in the shower. Wrong flush.
Medical history is another thing that's changed over the years. We used to think that the lobotomy was a good idea.
Yeah.
Let me take this ice pick, go in through your nose, through the skull, into the frontal lobe, and stir it around a little bit. That'll cure your insanity.
Or how and this is funny, like medical history, vibrators
Yep.
were invented to keep women from going insane. And another one that I recently found out that really messed with me is chainsaws were actually created for childbirth.
Yep.
I was like, what?
Well, hang on. Not chainsaws as in the you rev it up and it's a giant blade
It's what
with
they've
serrated.
evolved into. Is
Yeah.
that.
So originally, you have the chainsaw you think of now. It's a motorized machine tool
With teeth.
with teeth on it, and it chops into trees and it cuts them down. Originally, the idea for the chainsaw came from a medical tool used in most pregnancies.
You need to help.
It was
baby
basically a handsaw that was used for separating bone
Mm-hmm.
that would help ease birth. We still use a tool similar to that in medical today. It's a little bit more refined, and it's only used in specific cases that it's necessary for, because for the most part, the human body can push a baby out on its own. But the tool does still exist. So you can't just say chainsaws originated in medical history for using
But
a
they
baby.
did.
But not the fucking...
Yeah, but no, chainsaw, like the actual beginning of chainsaws
Yes.
was meant for childbirth. It evolved into
The
chopping down trees
chainsaw is
now.
what we use now.
But the original intended
Yes.
use of chainsaws was childbirth.
And vibrators were used as stress relievers.
Cereal was created to stop
Masturbation. Which is fucked up when you think
What
about it.
was?
Cereal.
So Kellogg, the guy who created Kellogg cereal, created cereal to prevent people from masturbating.
Because the cereal was so good that you couldn't masturbate if you were eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Catholics, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly.
That one really fucked me up. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Cocaine was in Coca-Cola for a while.
Oh yeah.
I knew that.
Here's something that's funny with medical history. Dementia and
What?
Alzheimer's.
Who are you?
But
Ah.
they cannot medically diagnose you with actual Alzheimer's until you are dead.
Yeah.
They can assume that you have Alzheimer's, but they medically cannot diagnose you with Alzheimer's until they do an autopsy on your brain. They can say you have dementia, which Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, but they can't really tell you
that you have it.
until you're past. But
yeah, because you can't just cut open a human skull and then go digging around in
what's
there.
funny though, in most operations on brain, like in one medical I was watching, they had a violinist. They were doing brain surgery on him. He had to be awake because you feel no pain in your brain. They had him awake.
I'm not worried about the brain.
Yeah, but they had him awake and they were having him play his violin. That way they could see what was going on if they were getting somewhere. If they went too far, it would alter him playing his violin.
The changing of notes or how he was playing
Yeah.
would tell
So
if
he
it
actually
fucked
was
up.
on the medical table playing a violin as they were operating on his brain. Like that's phenomenally
I would at
fantastic and
least, if
interesting.
I was in that situation, I would at least ask them to numb my head.
Well, yeah, they're gonna numb you to
Because
get in
my
there.
brain, I might not feel any pain because there's no pain receptors in the
With
brain.
the skin, you sure will.
But for everything else before they hit that point, I don't want to feel that. I've felt what a tooth feels like getting broken in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't sound too great from a fucking saw going through my skull to open up my brain.
Dentistry's come a long way too.
Yeah, dentistry has gone a long way.
Thank
So
God.
scared.
Back in the day, all you had to do was punch somebody real hard. Bam, tooth gone.
That are just the archaic tools of you know.
Oh, God. You look at some of them fucking tools used for extraction. Ugh.
I think majority
I'm
of them are.
scared to go to the dentist. Today's society, I couldn't have fucking imagined back in the day. I'd have been like, yep, nope.
Back in the day, though, you would have thought it as normal. You would have looked at it the same way you do now. That's the thing a lot of people look about is they're like, oh, well, if I was born in a different time period, I wouldn't have allowed this. If you were born in a different time period,
You have no choice.
you would either have no choice or you would look at it as normal.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you would probably look at it as bad is if you went back in time as you currently are. Then you could probably change something. But if you were born in that time period, it would just be a normal fucking Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
Like, oh,
One
yep,
way to look
Jimmy's
at it,
getting
though.
hung for stealing the ham. Yep, that's how it goes. Oh, Rebecca was a witch all along. I knew it. Better burn her at the stake. Like, that's just how you would have viewed the world. It doesn't matter how you view the world now. If you were born in a different time period, you wouldn't view the world as you do now.
Mm-hmm.
Because society has evolved and changed and learned. And we have to keep evolving and changing and learning so we don't keep fucking up.
Yeah, we have to learn from our mistakes, and because if not, we're gonna be doomed to repeat and to fail and to blame other nations, peoples, races for our shortcomings.
And here's something I want to say before we end today's podcast, because we are officially an hour over. It is sad but true that history is written by the victor.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff that, because there's people in England and France and all that. It's like, well, we don't have that in our history books, and we're like, we don't have a lot of stuff in our history books from that point of view. But
Yeah.
it's true, the history is written by the victor. You're right, 100% right.
So it is sad but true, because there are wars that will be won by us, and yay, hooray, we won. But the cruelties of that war, the actions of that war, and the repercussions of that war could be potentially lost to history. Because why would we tell our kids about all the bad things that happened when we could tell them about all the good things that happened?
Well, see, that's funny. It's like with the Vietnam War, like
We lost that war.
we lost. Like it was like, and what's really sad is that your Vietnam vets got screwed.
Mm-hmm.
They got sent to a place they shouldn't have been, and then the government basically said, "Well, fuck you, suffer."
Yep.
And
they came back
of,
and they were the most hated people in the world for a hot minute.
oh yeah, and they were just, it's so bad. So like, if you see your Vietnam vet, like, thank them. Like,
they did what they had to do. They were forced.
Yeah, they were forced to go into that, but thank them because they didn't get a welcome home.
Nope. They lost families, they got divorces, they couldn't get jobs, and it's sad. But a lot of them committed suicide.
Yeah, a lot of them did commit
Five Finger
suicide.
Death Punch has a song called The Wrong Side of Heaven, The Righteous Side of Hell. It's not necessarily about the Vietnam veterans, it is about war veterans in general who come back and they can't be implemented back into society because war broke them, or they come back into society and society rejects them because of what they've done.
Because they can't handle it.
And that entire music video for that song, it has help hotlines for veterans, but it also tells you to not shy away from the military veteran on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Because you don't know his breaking point.
Yeah.
He could be on the verge of a bullet and you don't even fucking know it.
It's true. It's very true.
Sabaton also has a song about that. The Price of a Mile, I think. And that song was made in honor of a veteran who committed suicide because he came back from war after seeing friends and comrades dying.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't live with it. He couldn't be implemented into society, and he put a bullet in his head.
So yeah, thank your vets out there. You know, even though if you're not a fan of wars or military as it is.
On that, if you're not a fan of war, I don't give a shit. Yes, war sucks. There is no good war. Don't blame the people who did it. Blame the people who made them do it. Don't look at a war veteran and say you're a piece of shit for fighting that war. They were forced to. It was that, or jail time, or potentially death. I will never blame a soldier for what he's done. I will blame the government that made him do it.
But bring it back to a lighter note. We appreciate your guys' love and support. 16 episodes in, like I'm
Oh yeah,
enjoying it. I love this so much. Getting a chance to share my artwork and our stories and knowledge, and hopefully help you learn something new that you didn't know before. Um, I know for me, as a friend, a mother, a sister, an aunt, my door is always open to anybody.
Oh
My
yeah.
house is a safe place, no matter what your color, your race, your sexual orientation. My door is always open, and I am a safe person to come out to.
The same goes for me as well. I will not shy you away. The only way I could hate you is if you harmed my son, and you probably don't even have the capability of doing that. So
But we would appreciate if you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Comment, like, help get us out there and tell how Wolfcast may not be the number one might not be the number one podcast, but
be the number one in your hearts.
so make sure to follow us on all of our social medias. We really appreciate you guys. Like, thank you so
May
much.
has a lot more social medias than us.
Yes, I do.
Go check out my Instagram. Make fun of my singing.
Make sure that you also hit us up on Facebook at Wolfcast Podcast. Again, we love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.